I would like to share with you my experience with edibles, which completely changed the course of what would have been my life. This video is sponsored by Path to Greatness. I wanted to make this video for two reasons. Number one is I feel like I finally have enough of a grip of what happened last year to actually be open about it and talk about it on the internet. And two, I don't know if it's just me, but has anyone else noticed the insane amount of weed stores popping up everywhere lately? I mean, where I live in Omaha, Nebraska, there have been 3 that just opened up in the past year. That's a lot of weed stores for a relatively small city. And more, I just see so many people getting caught up with these substances or getting into these substances. I feel like I'm supposed to share my own experience. So if you are someone out there who is thinking about experimenting with edibles or are already taking them, I hope that this video can provide some valuable insights for you. So first of all, this experience happened when I was 17, my senior year of high school, and I was under 18, so I wasn't technically allowed to do any of this stuff. But I mean, this stuff was everywhere. Everywhere you go in high school, you see people drinking, smoking, vaping, doing all kinds of stuff because it's still seen as kind of the popular thing to do. It's what you do in high school. I've never really been the type of person that just did what other people did, but at this point, I was really asking myself the question, what am I missing out on? And I kept telling myself, if everyone's doing it, it can't be that bad. It can't have that much long-term effects. So I was kind of okay with the idea of trying it. And I went 3 years all good through high school without doing anything. And by my senior year, I was just ready to accept the fact that it was just part of life. And then this very interesting opportunity came. There was a girl I liked at the time, and she told me that her dad was going out camping one night. So she asked if I wanted to stay the night. And this was when I really pounced on the opportunity because I knew she was experienced, I knew she had done this stuff before, and I was very comfortable around her. So I was like, do you want to try edibles with me? And she said, all right. So I picked some up and immediately headed over. What I bought was called Delta 8, which is known as fake weed. It's very similar to real weed, which is Delta 9, except Delta 9 has a double bond on the 9th carbon, where Delta 8 has it on the 8th. Keep in mind, I just copy and pasted what I read online. I don't know any of that science stuff. All I know is that Delta 9 is real weed, Delta 8 is fake weed, and it usually comes in gummy form. So anyway, I bought Delta 8 and went over. As soon as I got to her house, we went up to her room and I had half a gummy and she had a full one. And then I remember we put on Happy Feet and we just waited because it takes a while for these things to kick in. So I was pretty nervous, and after like 20 minutes, it still hadn't kicked in. So I asked her if maybe we didn't take enough, and she said maybe. So we ended up taking more. So in total, I actually had 20 milligrams, which was a full gummy, and it's a very hefty dose for a beginner or a first-time trier. And it was only 10 more minutes before it really hit. One giant buzz. It was a lot of stuff that happened all at once, but the real reason why I knew it hit was because I could not stop laughing. There was this uncontrollable urge inside of me that just wanted to laugh, and not just laugh, but laugh really loud. Like, it was like a maniacal laugh. Like, it was really crazy. And I remember that she would keep looking over at me and tell me to stop laughing, which just made me laugh even harder, and it was just out of control. It was a laugh that was coming from like a really deep primal thing in me. It's not like an everyday laugh that you sort of do. It's like you're throwing up a laugh almost. At the same time, my entire body was starting to buzz. It's almost like when you sit on your hand for a while and it goes numb except for your entire body. And you get this sort of warm, tingly feeling as well. And you combine that all with the laughing thing and you get this very fake, joyous experience. Like the Lifesaver gummies we were having seemed tastier, the colors seemed brighter, the movie we were watching seemed extra funnier. What it does is that it just grows sort of all your current emotions and everything that you're taking in. The first couple minutes were super intense. My adrenaline was like skyrocketing, and it was just so crazy because I was new to all this. I didn't know what was gonna happen. I just took some and it suddenly starts hitting and you freak out a little bit. Your adrenaline is high, but it feels good. It feels tingly and it feels warm and it's very new and exciting. And it went on like this for like 20 minutes until the adrenaline finally wore off and I could really explore what I was actually feeling. By this point, I could really explore all the mental aspects that I was experiencing. And one thing I immediately noticed was that I was extremely present. Like present moment in the sense that only one thought was running through my head at a time. I've always asked myself the question, how do dogs think? Because I know it's a very common question. It's like, how do dogs think? They're always so happy and so joyful. And this was sort of how I would imagine a dog thinks. It's like, oh, the light is so bright. Next second, oh, the couch is comfy. Next second, oh, this gummy tastes so good. And this is kind of how I would imagine a dog feels. Just one thing at a time. Just all your attention going to one thing. And that one thing is just so much stronger than how it would normally feel. Just one emotion, one focus, one thought at a time. It's a weird feeling because you sort of lose your perception of time as well. And you can look at the clock as much as you want, but it'll just fly past you. You won't really notice it. Time moves and feels differently when you're in that state. The best way I can describe this part of the experience was one-dimensional, in time and in focus. Just one thing at a time, right after the next thing. So after about half an hour of this, we were both laying on our bed. We're both just experiencing what was to be experienced. And I remember looking over at her and thinking, wow, I am laying down next to the most beautiful girl in the world, having a new experience that I never thought I would have up till that point. And I could really feel the love that I had for this girl to an extreme level. It's kind of like I was saying before, where every emotion that you feel is times 10. It's 10 times stronger than how it normally is. And when I was looking at her, I could just feel that emotion 10 times stronger. And oh wow, she was just glowing in my mind. It's really hard to explain because it's so hard to put certain emotions into words, but this was definitely one of them that's just almost indescribable. I remember that during that time I kept asking her if she was an angel, and I kept telling her how beautiful she was, and all this sort of stuff that just kept flowing out of me. It was weird. I just kept seeing this pure and whole person right in front of me, and through this experience that we were going through. I thought this was gonna be like the main event of the night. I had experienced everything that I was going to experience, and we were sort of mellowing out at this point, and it was gonna be a solid experience. So at one point I remember that I was thinking about falling asleep, and I asked her when her dad was gonna be home so I could set my alarm and leave before that. And she said three of the most scary words that I've ever heard. Could be sunrise. And my mind immediately started racing. What if I wasn't sober by sunrise? What if her dad catches us? What if it's my fault her dad catches us? And all these thoughts just started racing through my mind. And like I said before, everything is still on 10x, whether it's happiness. At this point, it was worry. I didn't want her dad to catch us, and I especially didn't want her dad to catch us because of me, because I was new to this, because I wasn't sober and I wasn't sure when I was going to be sober. So I immediately got up and I told her I was good to head home, and she kept asking me if I was all good, and I was like, yeah, I'm fine, it's whatever. I got in my car and I drove off. And this is where the night really took a turn. As soon as I got behind the wheel, all the lights just seemed insanely intense, so bright. And I really should have just quit right there, but I'm a stubborn person. I don't just quit things. I push through. So I was like, you know what? We're gonna do this. We're gonna get home. We're fine. We're whatever, you know. So I started driving and I got like 3 blocks down and I turned a corner, but I noticed that my hands were moving like a second after I thought. So I was like, okay, we're moving the corner. We got to take a right. And my hands were like a split second later. And when you're driving, this really shows. Everything was sort of blurry and moving around, and this is when I was really starting to freak out. There's something that can happen when you take these sort of drugs called a bad trip, and it's essentially a panic attack. Your heart rate rises, you start breathing heavily. It's pretty much all the same symptoms as a panic attack, and this was where I was at. I mean, when you fall into one of these, you just lose it. Every worry, every worst case scenario creeps into your mind, and you fall into this really deep and dark pit of darkness, and it's really hard to get out of it. You literally lose control of your own mind. And I was right there in the pitch black on some corner of some random street in some random neighborhood, freaking out, wondering why I chose to do this to myself. Fortunately, after a couple minutes of just losing myself, I regained myself, I regained my thinking, and I was able to drive back to her house. I knocked on her door. I remember she opened it, walked me to the couch, and gave me a glass of water, told me to drink up, told me everything was gonna be okay, told me everything was okay. And I called up one of my friends, and she came and picked me up and drove me home. So that was the end of the experience. Crazy night, and plenty to reflect on for the following weeks. So this experience was a really crazy one, as you can tell. Or maybe it wasn't that crazy and I'm just overreacting about the whole thing and everyone else is way more experienced than I am and has way crazier adventures. That could also be a possibility because I'm very inexperienced. I've only touched these substances a couple times, so maybe I'm not the best person to be giving advice on this, but I wanted to share this experience and I think I learned a lot from it. So I wanted to share with you 2 realizations that I had on this crazy night. The first is that I don't like the feeling of not being in control of my actions. There's the physical aspect, which is where your actions are delayed and you feel all fuzzy and you feel all weird, and that's honestly not a great feeling either. But I think the worst one for me is the mental aspect. Throughout the experience, I noticed that I could only focus on one thing at a time, and that one thought that you're thinking about is taking up all the space in your head. You can only think of one thing at one time. This can be great when I was thinking about the girl or the lifesaver gummy in my mouth. Just to be clear, the only thing in my mouth was the lifesaver gummy. And these were amazing things to think about. They multiplied the emotions a lot. But on the flip side, when I was thinking about her dad catching us, or when I was having to think about multiple things when I was driving, it's very dangerous, it's very hard to get through, and it's overall just not a good feeling. Personally, I like being in control. I like being the one that gets to decide my actions, and I like the idea that if something happens, I will be able to clearly think through the situation that I'm in. I don't like the feeling of not being in control. And the fact that this substance that I took takes away that control of so many variables, it's just not an ideal situation for me to be in or ever be in. So when you take away that level of control, I'm sort of left with a feeling of unease throughout the whole thing. The second realization that I had is that I know a lot of people use this substance as their only form of fun. They get together with their friends, they do it when they get home from a hard day at work, and it's just like an everyday thing. It's just a fun thing to do every day. And even though I don't think Delta 8 is classified as an addictive substance, I've seen many people grow dependent on it. It's their only source of fun, and I think that makes this an extremely dangerous substance. There is more to the world than sitting around taking this drug and being consumed completely by dopamine. Like any other thing in life, this can be used as an escape, and I think that line between where it's used to an escape and where it is used sometimes is definitely a line that is worth being explored. Another thing is that these substances open doors to all kinds of things, concepts that we can't even begin to understand. You're giving your body and mind the possibility of being exposed to the worst of the worst, and this can drag you down to terrible places. At least for me, personally, I don't think that I will take or even go near any of these substances anytime soon. So with weed stores growing in the world, or maybe it's just in the United States, I don't know, I think we need to be extremely careful and be extremely educated on this very, very complicated subject.